okay, it's funny now. We can laugh about it. Everybody's having fun at their expense, but big deal if they hire Ben Johnson or whomever, Coach X, and he's great. Like, it won't really matter. But, I mean, they're at like 21 candidates now. I don't know. I mean, it seems kind of silly.
Might as well go for an even 100.
Diana Rossini tweeted this morning. Ben Johnson is expected to lock in his schedule over the next days for in-person meetings. So far, 3 teams, the Raiders, Bears, and Jaguars, have shown strong interest in him. That said, it's possible Johnson won't meet with all 3 as he figures out his next steps.
If he goes to the Raiders, he'll never be available for the Bears for an interview.
Dan Wiederer wrote this morning in the Tribune, Jurko, Washington Commanders assistant general manager Lance Newmark was engaged in an interview on Sunday with the Las Vegas Raiders for the franchise's open GM position, according to reports. That may not seem like much on the surface, particularly as it relates to the Chicago Bears' ongoing search for a new head coach. But it registered within league circles as a major development, providing the Raiders with what seems like substantial momentum as they make serious efforts towards landing the hottest coaching candidate this hiring cycle. That candidate, of course, is Detroit Lions OC Ben Johnson, also a top target in Chicago. Newmark's interview with the Raiders on Sunday came 10 days after the franchise fired Tom Telesco. And the dismissal of Telesco came after word had spread throughout the league that Johnson was hopeful to find a head coaching opportunity that would allow him to unite with a GM with whom he had previously worked. Newmark and Johnson, well, they were together in Detroit for 5 seasons, building a bond as the latter climbed the coaching ladder. The latter climbed the ladder. 2 different ladders there, Yerk. TT and DD. And the former served as the team's senior director of player personnel. As it happens, networking remains a big deal in the NFL. Relationships matter. And while Newmark has also had a past connection with Bears president Kevin Warren, who was in Detroit's front office for 3 years in the early 2000s when Newmark was ascending through the scouting ranks, the Bears don't currently have a GM opening, having made the decision at season's end to retain Ryan Poles for at least 1 more year. So that's the latest development there, folks. We will continue to track that and see where it goes. If you want to talk about the weekend with us, you can at 312-332-3776. Somebody was suggesting that the Lions window is now already closed. Couple of heartbreaking losses the last couple of years. Yeah, I would say not so fast on that.
Hold on.
Silly.
Did you watch San Francisco this weekend?
Yeah, I did watch San Francisco.
How'd they play?
They didn't. They played during the year.
Back to you.
Yeah, San Francisco will be back next year. 1 year blip.
Well,
They hope. They hope.
Sure
about that? They hope. But it was San Francisco was building into a direction where it was take a next step. We're the next team. We're the team. Here's another step until it doesn't happen.
Well,
I get that Detroit thinks that they'll get back.
How long was San Francisco's window open then?
Hey, wait, let's not.
It was like 2 seasons.
No, it's 5 seasons. Jimmy Garoppolo took them to a Super Bowl, guys. What are you talking about?
That was a different.
No.
I'm talking about Purdy time.
The difference is San Francisco's not going to get their offensive coordinator hired away
for an extended period of time. And what does that mean?
That means they're going to have offensive continuity.
Are all the players disappearing?
McCaffrey disappeared.
Yeah.
Wait, can I say one thing though about San Francisco?
I'm talking about Detroit. I said, are the players disappearing?
Can I say one thing? I mean, San Francisco was wrecked by injury this year. I mean,
so was the Lions defense.
It was, but I mean, the Lions O-line.
You're saying the window is closed. Come on.
No, I'm not saying it's closed. I'm just saying it's not a guarantee for people to assume that the Lions will be back.
But nothing's a guarantee. I mean, Dan Campbell said it last year when they lost the NFC title game. He was devastated because he said, you know what? It's hard to get to these games.
Yes, it is.
I understand that. That entire O-line, as I understand it, is still intact with their quarterback, with Jahmyr Gibbs, with Amon-Ra St. Brown, with Jamison Williams, a defense that you think would be healthier next year. I don't think that in Detroit, they're going to go to a 7-win season next year.
Their offensive line is going to lose Kevin Zeitler. Like they're going to lose.
They're going to lose Zeitler. I think is who? How many are they going to lose? They're not losing Sewell.
Nope.
And I don't think they lose Decker. Is that right?
What about Ragnow?
I got to check the contract status of all of them. I think Zeitler is the one that they were going to potentially lose.
I wouldn't say a 7-win team. That's taking it to an extreme. What I'm saying is this year, They were hyped the entire season.
Sure they were.
And as a Bears fan, there was nothing funnier than watching on Saturday night, watching Lions fans have to deal with the fact being overhyped all season long to get your ass kicked at home in a divisional game. That's exactly where Detroit belongs.
5 turnovers.
Embarrassment.
Do you think
that's what that franchise is? It's hilarious. I enjoyed it. I'm just saying, don't assume that they're just going to be back in the mix again.
Well, I don't think they're winning 15 games. That's true.
I'll tell you whose playoff windows are closer to being done than the Detroit Lions. The Packers' playoff window looks closer to being done than the Detroit Lions. Everybody comes back next year in a market correction in the NFC North. Everybody comes back. The problem is that the Bears are bottoming out, unfortunately, and I hope that there's success next year, but there's no guarantee of success next year. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to pick between all the teams in the division on who I think is going to win the division again next year and go to the playoffs, it'll most certainly be Detroit. Even with the loss of both coordinators.
Yeah.
It'll still be Detroit.
They'll probably be the favorite, I would think, right?
Yes.
I do think they'll probably be the betting favorite next year, barring some weird thing this offseason.
And as long as they got St. Brown and as long as they got Jahmyr Gibbs, as long as they got a quality offensive line, I mean, at some point you knew you were going to have to replace those guys. You get Hutchinson back as your pass rusher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't see where they Laporta's still going to be there. Is Laporta still going to be there?
Yes, absolutely. He's only going into year 3. Boy, that defense, man, everything they lost, then they lose what? On the first series, they lost to Meek Robertson. Like, you got to be kidding me with the now that doesn't explain 5 turnovers. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I'm not.
Well, their defense didn't turn the ball over.
No, I know. I'm like, what I'm saying is like, that's not what lost them the game. They didn't turn it over. That had nothing. Meek Robertson going out had nothing to do with their 5 turnovers.
Jared Goff morphed back into Jared Goff.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that was bad. But
That's why they lost that game.
How much can a defense like how much can you sustain at some? Like, it's just brutal.
And there's no doubting that San Francisco did take a step back, but I think San Francisco's been in the playoffs for 5 straight years. Am I not? Ever since Kyle Shanahan got there?
I think he's missed maybe 3 times.
The first year with Garoppolo, they won some games. I don't think they qualified for the playoffs, but then the next year, I think they were in the Super Bowl.
That sounds right, Yerk. Yeah. So with Shanahan, they've missed the play. Actually, it's 4-4. He's been there 8 years. They've been in the playoffs 4 times. Every year they've made the playoffs under him, they've gone to at least the conference title game and 2 Super Bowls. And then they've missed the playoffs 4 times. So he's 50-50, but
give me the scenario.
Well, related to Shanahan.
3, 4.
Well, he inherited a 2-win team. So then they went 6-10.
Right.
Then the next year they went 4-12. I think that was the year Garoppolo was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they played they were down to playing like Nick Mullins and
I got you.
Like
so it was 3 years.
Kid.
3 years they didn't go to the playoffs.
That's correct.
They went 4 straight.
Yeah, they went 3 out of 4. They went 4 out of 5 years.
Right.
Yes.
After that.
Right. Correct. After not making the playoffs in his first 2 seasons, they went 4 out of 5 years.
Usually when you make the playoffs and you're 15-2, you get yourself a 5-year run out of that. So this is year 2 of that 5-year run. Am I not mistaken?
Yeah.
They think they got 3 years left in their run.
What happened to Atlanta after they lost Shanahan? After they lost the Super Bowl, they went
the next year and they got jobbed on a bad call and lost in Philly, right?
Yeah, and then Dan Quinn got fired a year after that.
I think that's right.
So these things, it seems like it's going to be fine, but then these things life comes at you really quickly.
Of course,
especially when you lose your coordinators.
Then you've got to judge the individual talent of the team. That's what you have to do.
Yeah, they still have Jared Goff as their quarterback.
Yeah, which was good enough for how long?
For
15 victories?
15 victories in the regular season.
Good enough for 15 victories.
And then
he may be the reason you never get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, right.
Jared Goff may be the reason you never get to the Super Bowl, but I don't know if Jared Goff would be the guy, the reason why you never get to the playoffs.
What was Carmen? We talked about this earlier in the football season. The Lions played 3 outdoor games?
3 outdoor games.
So next year, they already have 7. So they'll have 7 outdoor games next year.
How about that flip, huh? You don't get the favorable schedule of going to the domes on the road.
Well, you don't get the favored schedule of playing the crap that you played this year.
Oh, listen, there's no thing I'm looking forward to once the markets open later this spring and summer as to fading the NFC North.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean,
those numbers will be down this year.
I also think it's comical that Bears fans would like rejoice in the fact that, oh, the NFC North didn't win a playoff game. Like, give me a break. We suck ass.
Yeah,
the Bears suck.
The Bears suck.
So let's like stop with the the NFC North teams all lost in the playoffs. But
no, Carm, I'm laughing at the Lions.
Come on. Well, you might want to laugh at the Lions, but the idea that we should be celebrating the fact that none of them
I'm
won
not
a playoff,
celebrating, but Saturday night was
we suck
for Lions fans who are all chesty. Bebopping down the street to Eminem and Kid Rock. Like, listen, it's hilarious that your team got their ass kicked in their home divisional round with their bye.
No Bob Seger.
I mean, come on, it's funny.
That's awesome.
How about
It's
Ted
funny.
Nugent? How about the Motor City Madman? Anybody
Detroit.
bebopping to Ted Nugent down there?
Please, unreal.
You can celebrate that fact maybe a little bit, but I think there's a huge correction coming for the NFC North.
Oh, we know
but
that.
I would still think the Lions are going to be the favorite.
They were 26-6 against the two divisions they play that rotate. The NFC North is not going 26-6 next year.
No,
against the AFC North and the NFC East. That's not going to happen.
I would just say this. I don't think their window to contend for making a push to the Super Bowl is closed. I think these last 2 years are painful. If you're a Lions fan, you had a lead in the NFC title game. You blew it last year. You had home field advantage. You had everything line up for you. Your defense was decimated, but the best part of your team was your offense, and that was healthy. And you turned it over 5 times. You still scored, what they still scored 31 points, but they turned it over.
They turned it over 5 times. One of those returned for a touchdown.
Yeah, pick 6.
Yeah,
including a pick 6.
Returned for a touchdown. And so you saw what happened to Jared Goff on that. He got taken off after that.
Yeah, that was
if that was Mahomes, that would have been 5 penalties in one. They would have called 5 personal foul penalties.
Did you hear that it should have been a penalty? That is absolutely still, even on a turnover, you can't go to the head of the quarterback like that. So they're still protected, I guess.
Well, if it was 15, it would have been 5 penalties.
Boy, I tell you, I'm going to play this for you right now.
Let's
go to the first game of the weekend.
That was a joke.
First of all,
he's flopping now like Cristiano Ronaldo. This is going to affect him as an individual person, because let me tell you, if you hated the Kansas City Chiefs before this weekend, with his display and his behavior, you despise him as you move forward.
I want to play something from Troy Aikman here in a second. The second drive of the game in which they got their second field goal, that was a terrible penalty against Will Anderson.
Yeah, it was awful.
There needs to be a system of checks and balances here for the NFL where you can go back and review that. I'm sorry.
Let me hear it.
Then this was in the late third quarter, Yerk, and you're going to remember the play. And this is a quarterback. This is Troy Aikman, a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I know.
Take a listen.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness. Defense number 39. 15-yard penalty.
Here's the end of it. Yeah, I mean, he's a runner, and I could not disagree with that one more. And he barely gets hit. That's the second penalty now that's been called against the Texans.
And Troy, I agree with you. There's no forcible contact to the head neck area of him. The two Houston players hit each other. That should not have been a foul.
And they've got to address it in the offseason. You can't, as a quarterback, run around and play games with defenders and then be able to draw a penalty.
Amen.
That's the one where the two guys smashed into each other and totally missed the quarterback.
Yes.
Yeah. The sideline one I thought was more egregious.
You thought that was even
where he
worse?
flopped,
okay,
threw himself to the ground.
Fair enough.
I mean, if he was in a soccer game, they would have drew a yellow card for embellishment. Yeah, for pretending like he got hit. That's crap. I'm telling you, it's going to sully his reputation.
The league needs to do something.
I hope some team decides they're just going to kick the living crap out of him one day and not care about 15-yard penalties. Just go off and start hauling off and hitting them.
The league needs to do something about that.
That's bad.
Plain and simple.
The officiating in that game was horrific.
Terrible. And
horrific.
I usually I don't usually go down this road where Mahomes gets all the calls, and I understand that to a certain degree, superstars are going to be protected a little bit more and I get that. That play that we just played there, and Jurko was annoyed by the sideline play, and he's done that all year.
Yeah.
Fair enough. The Will Anderson play, ridiculous. You should be able to review that. That play at the end of the third quarter was so bad and so egregious. And there's a Hall of Fame quarterback outrage saying, you can't play this game like this. You can't expect the defense to not be able to put their hands on these guys. He was a runner at that point.
Yeah.
He was extending a play at that point. He was nowhere near the sideline at that point. He went into his slide late, and the defenders had already basically left their feet trying to get the ball carrier to the ground. The league needs to address this.
It's bad.
It's bad.
It's horrific.
It is. It is plain and simple.
It's crap.
It is bad.
And as a gift to their fans, Kansas City took a safety at the end of the game to make sure none of them cashed the ticket.
Boy, what a change of hands that was.
Yeah.
That went from a cover to maybe you won on CJ and the Texans, or you pushed. It closed 9.
You want to talk about unnecessary. An unnecessary play.
Well,
a totally ridiculous play. You're winning by 9 points with 24 seconds left on the clock.
Seconds left.
The hell are you doing?
9.
What are you doing?
You're up. No. You were up 11, Jurko, right? They were.
No,
I'm sorry. They were
up 10 and went to 8, right? The 9.5 was the spread, or it went 11-9. Carm, they won by 9
They were
points.
up 11.
11.
Yeah. They were
gave up the
11.
safety. The spread was 9.5.
The spread was 9. It closed 9.
Well, some had it at 9.5. Most of the country had it at 9.5.
Some had it at 8.5. Like, think about the crazy swings
Oh,
on
boy.
where that ended up. You were up 2 scores with 24 seconds to play.
We took a safety. We were winning 16-10 against Detroit on December 31st of 94. And there were like 10 seconds left on the clock. Craig Henrik took the snap, ran into the end zone, ran the time almost off the clock. There's 1 second left, and we were going to punt to him at the end of the game. Made it 16-12. That was good use of that. Now we left them with barely any time on the clock. We punted the ball away. The game was over. Celebrations ensued. That was a smart play. But now with 24, you can't run 24 seconds off the clock.
No, of course
by
not.
going into your end zone and trying to scramble.
And it's already a 2-score game,
Right.
Yerk.
Yes.
Yeah, like it was.
Didn't make any sense whatsoever. Why'd you do what you did? Somebody, Dave Tobe in this situation, along with Andy Reid, probably outthought themselves at the end. They still won. Doesn't make a difference. I get it.
But it screwed a lot of gamblers.
Man alive.
I have a stat for you on that game coming up, too. You guys are going to go